good morning or afternoon, wherever you are. Let me welcome you all for what is an exciting series of announcements and an update on the progress of the Resilience Accelerator initiative under the Insurance Information Institute and the national rollout of the Innovation Hub and Collaboratory. I'm pleased to have join us a number of members of our new team and representing the larger audience that I think you'll find encouraging to have such a respected and well-informed group of individuals and organizations joining us. Let me start by welcoming our leader, Sean, with the Insurance Information Institute. And Sean, it's been such a pleasure to work with you and your team and Michelle over the past several months. And I know that your role and interest in the objectives of the Accelerator and the Innovation Hub are driven by the core of what the mission is of the Institute. So Sean, let me welcome you and have you share your thoughts and observations.
Well, thank you, and thank you for having us. And let me just say the partnership that we've started, Richard, what I think was now over a year ago, has really come to fruition in so many ways. And I really appreciate your guidance and your partnership through this. And maybe I should start with the organization and just give some people some history of how we came about this. The Insurance Information Institute is actually a 60-year-old organization. We were founded by insurance carriers, and really our mission is to be a trusted source of information, providing data-driven insights that will actually help empower the insurance customer and bring them to insurance, manage risk better. And as we've been looking to accomplish this mission, we also want to bring to fruition the idea that this is, insurance is an important part of economic capital. We know through research and information that communities, countries that have more insurance have more growth in their economy. But we also, even through Dr. Leonard's, who you'll hear from today, his work, we've been able to prove something that really is always at the top of our mind, that communities that have more insurance are able to be more resilient and withstand catastrophe better. And so part of where we came about this Resilience Accelerator was to, one, help us accomplish our mission, but two, in large part, beyond just giving information to individuals that help them be more informed, we actually wanted to find ways to change behaviors, to actually allow people to better understand that if they manage their risk, that if they take steps to be more resilient, they'll be able to recover faster. And it creates what I call a win-win. From the insurance industry standpoint, when you have more resilient customers and communities that are able to withstand catastrophes, on the business side of it, that helps on loss costs. But the customers, nobody wants to have to go through a catastrophe and not be able to recover or withstand it the way they should. And so we want to use this accelerator work to try and provide ways to, one, find how we can bring them to what we call the first step in resilience, which is insurance. But secondly, finding ways that they can take specific actions and change behaviors. And we've really been able to gather a strong group of partners in doing that. One in particular that stands out is FEMA, who've really been with us from the beginning of the accelerator work and continue to be an important source of data and information exchanges, as well as education and information that we so much use as part of our accelerator work. And as we've been working to drive behavioral change, we have our Resilience Hub that's up at resilience.iii.org, and we're beginning to really bring new tools and mechanisms. And I think this accelerator and what we're talking about here in particular, with actually now having a physical presence, thank you to Canon and H2O for making that happen. but also bring in new tools. And this, in large part, has been done with the partners that are helping as presenters here today. We've been able to better measure community risk and actually look at communities and rate the communities based on their penetration of insurance and other data variables. That's very important for, one, on how you're underwriting insurance, but two, for the customer to understand what communities and where they're living. We're now able to also help individuals understand individual home risk. If, in large part, when you're purchasing property, you really don't have any mechanism in place automatically that lets you know about risk variables. We will now, thanks to Hazard Hub, another partner and InsureTech group that we've been working with. Through our Resilience Hub, every property in the United States, at least, we can do ratings, and we can outline individual risks for every property. This again will help people that are thinking of building new homes in beautiful forests in California or beautiful barrier islands on the East Coast. What are the risks that are there that people need to better understand and become more resilient? And also, I'm excited too, and working with the founders of Color and Diversity through the hub. We'll be soon announcing, at least the pilot of an impact fund that can assist low and moderate income small businesses to acquire insurance. This is something in the industry that we call the protection gap. And unfortunately, 75% of catastrophes are uninsured after the fact. And that, again, means that people are not able to recover and withstand and get themselves back off the feet. And this is absolutely true for small businesses. And so what we want to do with this fund is find a way to get them to insurance and help them purchase that insurance that will at least be that first step in being resilient. And this is very exciting. I think it's been in concept for years now that we're actually going to be bringing, thanks to Richard and some others, that bringing this fund to life and actually using it and seeing the value of people that don't always think about or perhaps think they can't afford insurance, bringing the insurance to them and bringing that peace of mind so that they can focus on the businesses that are important, but also withstand when they're in harm's way from various catastrophes. So I'm really excited about how this has evolved. I just so much appreciate Dr. Michelle Leonard, who's on our team and has been spearheading this and has brought so much focus, and of course Richard and so many others that are here to speak today. So thank you for joining us here today. Thank you for your support of the Insurance Information Institute. What we want to do as well is bring the C-level members, the CEOs that sit on our board, as well as with our affiliation of the institutes. They are very interested in how this accelerator can provide their individual companies even more data-driven insights that help them as well make sure that they're providing the right products and services. So a lot of good work being done here. Great that we have a new even physical presence to what we're doing with the accelerator work. So enjoy the webinar. I know it's going to be exciting and action-packed. So I'll let you guys get started, but thank you again.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you, as always, for your insights. And I think what's great is that your voice representing the CEOs and the leadership of the industry, as well as, obviously, your continued engagement with the federal agencies and state agencies is so important for us to make sure that we are making these linkages between entrepreneurs, innovators, and investors. So, Sean, thank you so much. With that, let me now introduce Dr. Michelle Leonard, who has been on point for Sean and the board to present a little bit more of the background on the accelerator and then really launch us into the next steps of what we're doing this year. So, Michelle?
Thank you very much, Richard. Please put your thing on mute, Richard. That'd be great. Thank you. Well, we're very excited to be here today, and thank you again, Sean, for the introduction. Thank you, Richard, and our friends at the Canon, Amegy Bank, and so forth. But also thank you to Maggie Cummings from the institutes for actually being our maestro of ceremony today with the webinar and the platform, and cannot thank her enough for her ability to really bring up the quality and the professionalism in our webinars as we learn this new platform. So thank you, Maggie. You are an essential part of this team, and we, again, are grateful for your time. One of the things that we've been discussing since the beginning of the year is this difference between just think tanks and do tanks. And we find that it is important to really be able to also go into action. And one of the things that the Accelerator, as the Resilience Accelerator as a whole, has been about is this action component. And Richard's leadership in this project is really focused on being able to allow us to really think about ground up. And that's why we've been involved in Houston, in Texas, and the Gulf area, and also, of course, nationwide. But there are a few areas of the country where we as a III have always been present, and where we know from a resilience standpoint that we need to be even more so present. And certainly the greater Houston area, Texas, the coastline, the Gulf states, and beyond, Florida and so forth is that. And we do have a presence in Florida through some of our colleagues in California and elsewhere. Also, it's important to mention that Texas is one of the largest insurance markets in the world. So obviously, we have a significant number of members and so forth that are based there. One of the things Richard asked me to talk about is this concept of a resilience accelerator. Now, just so that you don't all get confused, we have a physical hub, which is H2O and the Canon and so forth. And we as a III are excited to be supporting that hub. And we'll talk a bit more about that. But we also have our resilience hub online, which is an information tool really for folks on the consumer side, on the media side, to go and get different visualization maps, take-up rates of flood insurance and all of that. So, but today we're here to talk about the physical, as I like to say, collaborative hub. And really this is about accelerating. And it's about bringing together insurance investors, local government officials, regulators, innovators, technologists, both institutions and individuals and NGOs and so forth together to work together towards our goal of increasing resilience at the local level. And we've done that for a year already. This is a launch because it's really a launch about the next phase, about an expanded set of resources. But for 1 year, together with H2O and the Canon, III has been able to be not only in Texas through our regular programming in the region, but also through our lightning round that I've introduced, technologist solutions. We call it Shark Tank, but with nice people. Those of you who've heard me say that before know the story. But this really brings technologists. We also have what we call our virtual town halls that have brought together community leaders in the context of public-private partnerships. But this really goes to how do we go from thinking to doing and accelerating really these connections. And we identify a few areas that are what I call market failures, where we at the III, where Richard and the Ken can step in and surgically laser focused can say we can accelerate because there's a little area there that needs to be a connection, there needs to be a bridge, and that's what we do. Along these lines, as we're launching today this new phase of the physical hub in Houston and throughout the Gulf and the southern part of the United States, where do we want to be in 2 to 3 years? I think where we want to be is to have had, with regards to this specific component, we want to have a few companies that we've brought to market, a few technologies that we've brought to market. We want to have 1 or 2 risk managers. One of them approached Richard and I early on in this project a year ago and say, well, you've been able to actually work with your carrier, with your brokers, and put together an insurance program that takes into account resilience and preemptive risk mitigation. And both you, as the insured, as the client, and the carrier and the reinsurers, those of you at the table, all of you are actually in a better place because of that. we want to better align cost benefits and so forth in that regard. So much more here that can be discussed, but I always joke that it's important to stick to our time in these things. So I'm going to introduce the next speaker, Susan Holliday. Susan is a thought leader in insurance. She has a remarkable career both in Europe and now in the United States. She was at Swiss Re for many years, where she had both regional Europe and international, global, including emerging market strategy positions and so forth. She's at the International Finance Corporation, where I've had the pleasure to work with her on global technology readiness, digital readiness for the insurance sector. Some of these solutions, which by the way are directly relevant to fast-tracking insurance solutions and so forth in the fight against resilience. So Susan has done many more things, but I'll leave it at this and encourage you to connect with her if you see some mutual interest and so forth. So Susan, over to you.
Thank you so much, Michelle, and thank you everybody for inviting me and for putting on this webinar. So it's really been an honor and a pleasure to be a non-resident scholar for the Insurance Information Institute, and now I'm really excited to work with the innovation arm here. As Michelle mentioned, I've had a long career, over 30 years, I'm embarrassed to admit, in the insurance industry, most recently with Swiss Re and with the International Finance Corporation and World Bank based in Washington, D.C. And I've also advised a number of VC funds and some startups and have served and do on several boards. What I think is exciting about this initiative is obviously the issue of making society more resilient and sustainable. And in that, I certainly think that there are interesting lessons to be learned from what's going on internationally. Just to give one example, I've worked in several countries on increasing the insurance that's available and bought by women. And a lot of those techniques are actually extremely relevant to reaching women, but also to reaching other underserved communities here in the US. And the other point I think is very important is for this to be successful, the insurance industry is absolutely critical, but we can't do it on our own. So we need to bring in other industries, other aspects of financial services, banking and lending and so on, but also many others. And just to mention a few, energy, construction, retail, as well as local government in towns and cities, state government and federal government, if we're really going to address some of these issues. And I think this is, a really exciting way to do this. So I love technology. I passionately care about closing the protection gap. And so I'm delighted to support this effort. And thank you, Michelle, for your kind introduction.
So with that, let me introduce Susan and Eleanor Kitzman as our first two innovators in residence. You can obviously see from Susan's background why we're honored to have her and Eleanor. Eleanor based in Austin, the only individual to have served as a state insurance commissioner in both Texas and South Carolina, now runs Resolute Underwriters in Austin. Both of them will help guide our overall business plan, our approach, and serve as a liaison to other senior executives throughout the country. So, Susan, thank you so much for your role, and obviously to Eleanor in her service. Both of you have already sat in and visited with a number of founders and startup companies, so that gives us, a great head start. But thank you so much. So let me talk a little bit and begin to connect the dots of what Sean, Michelle, and Susan have shared with you so far. As you can see, our effort is to create this pipeline of portfolio tech companies with a number of investors, including within the insurance and reinsurance community, excuse me, as well as with the non-insurance the private equity, family offices. We've already identified well over 400 points of contact just in the insurance, reinsurance family alone. But what we wanted to emphasize today is through going national and establishing this leadership team, as mentioned, we now have an opportunity to bring 4 levels of connectivity together. Obviously, what's been underway, and you'll hear more with the Innovation Hub. And then, as Sean mentioned, the ongoing work with the Department of Homeland Security, FEMA, and the U.S. government. We hosted last year 2 events with Homeland Security that brought a number of federal agencies together. And you'll see in a little bit that we'll be announcing 2 more events with what is referred to as the whole of the U.S. government, and working with folks in this transition that are going to become parts of the new cabinet. And then through the III and its recent merger with its peer institutes, we have an opportunity to expand to include a footprint of additional insurers and reinsurers to make sure that we're finding out what it is their needs are. It's kind of referred to as the hammer in search of nail. We want to make sure that the industry is telling us what they need, what their current needs are and what their high horizon needs are, but also to work with their various levels of investment and policies that they bring to the table. And then finally, we'll be announcing later this quarter the international expansion and furthering the relationships with the Dutch and the Danish and other communities around the world who have similar interests and similar challenges that we feel provide us an opportunity to move forward with. So, as we have mentioned, we have a series of innovators in residence, but we also have a partnership and collaboration with a number of peer organizations that we've asked to partner with because of their significant work and impact in this sector and across their communities. So Charlie, let me introduce you, and please explain a little bit about what you've been working on, and then opportunity to form this Collaboratory and network. So Charlie?
Thank you, Richard. Appreciate the opportunity, and thanks to Michelle and Sean. I'm the executive director of InnSure. We are a fairly young, we are barely 2 years old, nonprofit, and our mission is to foster innovation in insurance and risk management. We are located out at Cambridge Innovation Center in Cambridge, Mass. And our model is what we call connect, learn, solve. So connect is what a lot of InsurTech hubs do, is connect corporates to startups. And we're very excited to do that with the Accelerator, with the great stuff that Richard's been building. The learn piece is really focused on helping the insurance industry to innovate. We look at innovation as a discipline, similar to other disciplines, management, actuarial science, that can be learned. And we are developing a leadership curriculum around innovating in insurance. And the cornerstone program of that is an Insurance Innovation Leadership Academy, with the cornerstone course being an MIT Exec Ed course, where we took their innovation curriculum, worked with them to put it through a lens specifically for the insurance industry. But the most exciting thing that we're doing is the solve piece, which really fits into what Michelle was talking about early, not just talking about innovation, but doing it. And it's called Creation Labs. The tagline is Blue Sky to Blueprint. And what we essentially did was we combined a venture studio model with a co-creation model. And as we looked at accelerating solutions to market, instead of starting with a startup, what we do are stepping back and starting with problems. And we do 3 to 6 month engagements. and we bring a group of people across traditional boundaries together to ideate and essentially build a blueprint for a new venture. We optimize it both for experiential learning, how to learn, how to innovate, but we also, it's not a workshop. It is a real exercise. We have a goal to output 33 new ventures by 2025. 100% of them insurance or insurance adjacent, and 50% of them also, we want to also do good, and we want 50% of those insurance new businesses, new ventures to also advance UN sustainability goals. Because if you look at those targets that are listed there, many of them are related to risk. So we're very excited we have 5 groups running right now, one focused on cyber, one on social justice, one on mobility, one on voluntary benefits, and one on climate. So that's kind of a high level. We're certainly, I think we'll have a lot of opportunities to find different ways to work with the community that Richard's been putting together.
Charlie, thank you. And as an example of the folks that we're beginning to reach out to and include and engage in this network are folks such as the Water Tower based out of Atlanta, Georgia, out of Gwinnett County. Our good friend Melissa Meeker, who was at the Water Research Foundation and now heads up the Water Tower, will serve as our liaison to the thousands of public water utilities across the United States, which, Charlie, as you know, deal with a lot of the issues that we're talking about in their communities. And so thank you, Melissa, and to Paul Robinson and his team. We are beginning to put the pieces together, hopefully to strengthen that collaboration. RISE has been a stellar program offering what we call grand challenges, and that is to really put together what are significant challenges for communities like Norfolk, Virginia, where they're based, and to leverage what I would refer to as a phenomenal pilot and demonstration site or sites in Norfolk. We will be announcing several other partnerships and relationships, Charlie, as you said, to build out the network. But we are really very much appreciative of the opportunity to partner with you and the Blue Sky to Blueprint, which I still think is a great phrase and great tag. Charlie will also continue to play a role with us in our executive mentor program. John, if you don't mind, we now think we've got Steve Stevens with Amegy back on. So if you don't mind, I'm going to ask Steve, who I think is now connected with us by phone. Steve, are you there?
Well, thanks, Richard, for your grace. Sorry I can't be there visually, but I do want to welcome everybody to Texas and to the Southwest. If anybody appreciates the value of risk management, it's a banker. We're trying to be more innovative, and that's one of the reasons why we've invested in our Amegy on Main and the hub, and we welcome innovative kind of energy around insurance and just other opportunities. As I think about the audience, a lot of insurance professionals, it may be interesting to note a couple things. One, Amegy Bank, we're the second largest bank in Houston. We're part of the Zions Network. It's an $80 billion bank, but we were created out of the last big risk event in Houston, which is the collapse of the energy sector in the 80s. We started the bank in 1989, and we're 75% Houston invested. So we've been able to watch firsthand how the entrepreneurs of Houston have taken what was a big risk event with the collapse of the energy sector back in the 80s and built some incredible value. But the other most noteworthy risk event for Houston, and most probably don't know this, but the reason we're the 4th largest city in the U.S. is largely because of the ship channel. And the ship channel was really due to the the hurricane of 1900 in Galveston, the most deadliest natural disaster in the history of the U.S. So that really is what prompted the building of the ship. Oh, and that's why we have so much incredible commerce. The last comment I would make to all of you, I'm a 60-plus year Houstonian, so I've been able to witness it. There's not a better collaborating and convening city, I think, in the world. We all get together, we solve our problems, we're very welcoming, and I think as you think about coming to Houston, you'll experience that. I'm involved in a lot of different charities. I'm just amazed myself at how small of a town Houston can be, and again, just the spirit of collaboration and convening. So, welcome you to kick the tires more around Houston. Come by Amegy on Main, and we'd love to welcome you and appreciate your interest. So, thanks, Richard. Thanks for your patience with me.
I want to thank you again. I know you had a really busy schedule today, and that we had planned to be down together down here at the tower. I want to also emphasize Steve and his team's efforts because, as he said, he's a financial services company, and the ability to help support and work with our founders, our early stage companies, to help grow them through some of the financial services that Amegy brings to the table, but also this opportunity to really establish the relationships that you have across not just Houston and Texas, but across the Southwest. So, Steve, thank you again for joining us today.
Thank you, Richard.
With that said, I'm going to hopefully get us back here. And I know that we're bouncing around, but it's a part of it. John, CEO of the Cannon. John, can you share a couple of insights to what is underway with the Cannon and our collaboration and partnership? And thank you, John, for your patience.
Not a problem. Pleasure to be here. Let me open by thanking the group here today for including the Cannon in this process. And on behalf of my whole organization, we are thrilled to be part of this initiative. We are kindred spirits in many ways. As I talk you through kind of what the Cannon does real quickly, you'll start to see, we are in the business of building innovation ecosystems, and we may all be innovation drunk by the end of this call because we've used that term many times. But I think that's okay, and we love to hear it. We use the term democratization of access, and that's really the business that the Cannon is in, is as we look at innovators and entrepreneurs and founders of any kind, our goal is to provide the resources and infrastructure that they need to achieve success and then grow and thrive as businesses. And so as we look at this initiative and our opportunity to play a role in not only housing the hub inside of the Amegy Tower, the Cannon Tower. Richard's doing a great job of modeling our facility downtown there in the background. We're excited about the addition of the Resilience Innovation Hub to that community, which is also houses part of our innovation community and startups. And also includes Mass Challenge and Accelerator and Impact Hub, which is a social impact accelerator, which also office out of that space. So we are enthused and excited about the energy that will be created from all of that being together. And as COVID wears off, knock on wood, then the energy comes back to the physical spaces. We've got a lot of anticipated excitement pent up there. The other element is that the Cannon looks to bring to the equation here is, we're building innovation communities. Houston is our home. It's where we were born. We're about 3 years old, so we're going on 4, I guess. And we're looking to expand the scope of our reach and impact and resources, not only across more of Houston, but the state of Texas and beyond. And so our goal as we build and grow our community is to identify new founders and startups who have potentially a passion or a link to provide a channel of startups and ideas into this initiative. So we think we'll have an opportunity to bring that to the table. The other element is the technology component. The physical space is one element, but having a digital community and the ability to connect that community and then push resources through and enable collaboration amongst that community is very important. So we've developed a platform that we will leverage in partnership with all of the groups involved today to connect all of these pieces. To extract the value from this initiative, it'll be important that we have the ability to connect all the pieces and network that process. And so that's a big part of that. We've also just announced our acquisition and launch of the Cannon Launch platform, which is an equity crowdfunding initiative, which will become part of our technology structure and can be beneficial to this entire community model as well. So Cannon is just really thrilled to be part of this as a partner in the process and looking forward to exciting times to come. Richard, I'll throw it back to you to do the introductions of the executive mentors.
Thank you, John. I want to emphasize while we've got you and got this up on the screen that what Cannon Connect provides us is a pretty robust, I would say, John, set of tools, as you mentioned, including this knowledge center for not just early stage startups, but for growth companies that are, in the revenue stream and still looking for additional information about their growth. The ability for us to connect under the Resilience Innovation Hub in this form of a community. And then let me reemphasize that one of the great partners through this Cannon launch, what we've now begun to do is identify a continuum of funding from crowdfunding to the connectivity with venture funds and family offices, as well as through and with the insurance sector. So, John, thank you. Thank you to Hillary Ago, who has really been on point supporting us here at the Tower and will be, as you will see in a second, one of our key partners as executive mentors. So today we're announcing the launch of the executive mentors. You can find all this on the updated website, but we are really honored to have a stellar group of experts from across the country, from David Alexander in his role running a part of the Flood Apex program under the Science and Tech Directorate at the Department of Homeland Security, Bonnie Canal, who has been boots on the ground, along with David Dodd, boots on the ground, not just in New Orleans, but around the world. Gordon Feller, who I've known for many years and has, based out of California, has brought together some of the best minds to solve critical problems around community resilience and risk. So we're really, really honored to have Patrick Marchment in his role in engineering, and Ron Prater, who has been a leader in working with offices of emergency management across the country at the municipal and county level. Joining them are others that, again, you'll see. Ted Smith, who has been a senior advisor to the mayor of Louisville and been a driver in connecting COVID and health-related challenges to new alternative solutions. Pam Williams, the founder of Building Back, as a part of a strategy. Pam was at FEMA and literally helped champion the need for pre-disaster risk mitigation funding through FEMA. We are also honored to have Mike Homa and his team at Gap Engineering provide some insight and guidance to the adaptation and adoption, often to overcome what can be a hurdle into the design of facilities and infrastructure. So Mike, thank you for joining us. And in our first extern program manager, Kurt, who comes to us from the Graduate School of Business at Rice University, the Jones School. So we've got really a great team to work with here, and I'm pumped to have them begin to join this process, John, through the platform, but also to start working with our portfolio companies. With that, I'd like to have Michelle join me with sharing a couple of our next steps to remind you all where we've been, for those of us that have not been able to join us previously, but to remind you where we have been this year, and then to share with you some announcements and some schedules. So, Michelle, can you give us a little reflection on some of what we did in April through December, and then we'll wrap up with a perspective of what's on the schedule. Michelle?
Absolutely. Thank you, Richard. Well, again, thank you to everyone who's joining us as in these leadership and advisory and mentoring positions. I think it's quite a group, Richard, that you've assembled. We're glad to be part of that and to facilitate, but this is really your success with your partners at Amegy and at the Canon, and we're thrilled to be here to accelerate. Given our there was a pun. Maybe I need more coffee if I'm going to make a pun like that. It was just Accelerator. But in any case, we did great, if I may say, last year. I think there was an opportunity, actually. I don't want to call it a silver lining because it would be inappropriate, but there was an opportunity because of COVID and so many of us being in quarantine, those of us who could, or in isolation, those of us who could do it, who didn't have to be on the front lines and so forth. And there was a desire to connect. And the transformation that Zoom, this platform and Teams and so forth has done has really created, I think, lowered the geographic, lower the traveling, lower the time and the money required to convene. And Kevelighan, my colleague and our CEO, was saying the other day, that's what we do at the III. We convene. And we support other organizations that want to convene. And from that, we built. And we really were able to convene. I ran some stats because, I'm a data guy. and I think we had more than 1,000 people over the course of the year attend our event. It's actually, depending on how you count those who've come twice and so forth, but it's around that. And this was never mass market. This was really made to reach out stakeholders and folks that are much more, hands-on and so forth. We've had something like close to 100 speakers across all of those. Again, not about numbers here, but about quality. But still, there is a significant convening here happening. We've looked at different technologies. We've introduced about 25 different technologies that are market ready to actually make a difference. Some of them, actually, I know you're in the audience. Some of them you actually were referenced in Richard's opening comments. So it's been, and then we had a variety of events. I think we had about 10, and then multiple follow-up and so forth. So we're expanding, but a lot has been done, and we're very excited about that. And as one of my fellow speakers said earlier, as hopefully the economy reopens, we'll be able to do some of this in person. But we'll also be eager to continue to do so virtually because it's a new era in that regard. And, in a couple of months, in a couple of years, all of these, we ourselves and one day our kids of our friends will look at us wrestling with the technology and so forth and smile like, you couldn't use a phone, kind of thing, etc. So I'm very proud of what we've done last year in terms of convening, in terms of offering opportunities. We connected, for example, insurance venture capitalists within some of our members, for example, that came and spoke and said to us, this is great. There's technology there, even though that's our job to go out there, that we're not familiar with, that we hadn't seen, and we love this. As the world comes back, I say again, hopefully to also being in person, I think we'll have these to their powerful ways to convene and to move forward, both the virtual and the in-person. But going into this year, there's a few things that we're excited about. We'll continue, of course, with the webinars, the lightning rounds, and the virtual town halls, but we'll also be able to add to this programming. From my side, from the III's perspective, we are excited to be announcing soon, launching late January, early February, resilience ratings that actually cover Texas, of course, and we're looking forward to, and nationwide, et cetera, but also Texas and so forth. And we'll be also launching different tools or expanding our take-up rates for NFIP maps and so many of these different ones. So again, I want to be mindful. We're always mindful of people's time, but there's a lot coming up. I'm actually working today on wrapping up the schedule. And one of the reasons it's not done is because there's so much great stuff coming together. And, and one thing I want to mention, to be action-oriented is Charlie. Charlie was speaking earlier. They just put together a fantastic program with MIT on innovation. It's a continuing education type thing, and we're eager. I've been talking to my colleagues at the institutes. So for those of you who don't know, III recently merged or was acquired or affiliated, we became part of the institutes. And we're super excited about that. For those who don't know, the institutes with an S as opposed to the III, I joke with folks that I'll never make a mistake in this company. I've gone from one to the other, and it's the institute or the institutes. So if I ever make a mistake, no one will notice. But jokes aside, we're super excited. And they are the ones that, amongst many things, take care of the designations for the industry, the CPCU and so forth. So we encourage you to look and to reach out to Charlie or to us. We want to show you this fantastic class that InnSure and MIT have put together. It's the first of many. We're working with the institutes in terms of bringing this into the designation, continuing training, education. So that's just one example of where we're going to go. So many different things here. But again, back to you, Richard.
Well, and let me, as we begin to wrap up, Michelle, let me emphasize something that I think Sean started us off with. The insurance and reinsurance sector is really making a pivot and is looking at ways to use its tools and insurance as economic capital from a new form of investing through all the different tools in the toolkit. And I think one of the opportunities here that we've identified is to almost play as if this is a translator role between the insurance and the non-insurance communities who end up having the same goals, which is to reduce loss of life, loss of facilities, loss of operations, loss of economic means. And so we wanted to announce as well, and we will be sending out calendar invites for all of you to connect in, but we will start the year very busy in January and February. For instance, the Insurance Institute has been a sponsor of a series of inventathons and hackathons. We've expanded to now include a couple of other universities so that we can bring a new generation of students, graduate students and faculty into the mix. So our first eventathon, hackathon, starts on January 22nd, 23rd, and we'll be announcing additional ones across the country. On January 28th, we will hold our next national town hall, where, as Michelle mentioned, there's a lot of new information and data tools that FEMA and the Institute and others have announced over the course of the November, December. We'll be moving into our next lightning round scheduled for February 24th and working with a number of the technology companies that have already been identified. But the great news is that we had a chance to do a pre-brief with 30 different technology companies, literally from around the world, Michelle, that are now registering into the system and the network. And then, of course, we'll be working with Charlie and our other partners in the Innovation Collaboratory to start looking at everything from the Blue Sky to Blueprint Creation Lab working with Melissa and the public water utilities. So we're off to a fast start for 2021. I think we would recognize that this has been ambitious, but it's critical. And with that, Michelle, I want to thank you, Charlie, Susan, Steve from Amegy, John and the Canon team, and as well as, of course, Sean in the Institute. I think we've got a lot of work to do, and we encourage each and every one of you to identify a way to partner, sponsor, and underwrite some of the work that we're doing. This is a unique moment and a unique time. If you go to the resilienceinnovationhub.com website, which is up and launched, you'll see ways for you to put your expressed interest forward as either a company or investor or organization, and you will be receiving immediately a follow-up. We will have an edited version of this being sent out on all our social media. But with that, we stand concluded and appreciate all of you and your patience and time. All the speakers are available for follow-up directly, and we can make those connections occur. So with that, we hope you have a wonderful day. Happy and healthy New Year.